One of the big issues that many people have when speaking in public is what to do with these things. People get very self-conscious about their hands. And for me, it's very simple. When you're speaking in public, it's just a modified form of conversation. And in the same way that you would gesture when you're speaking in a conversation with people at the coffee point or just over the water cooler, so you would gesture when you're presenting. So you might mark ideas out in space. You might say, well, in the past we used to do this, and in the future we will do this. And there'll be a period of transition. If you're presenting some ideas about products or services, you might show them the relative position. So you might say that this is the most important thing that we have. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's very high quality, but it will cost you. This is very cheap and cheerful. It's got all the must-have, but none of the frills. And many people will go for this, which is the middle-priced option and very popular. But if you're gesturing all the time, it'll get very tiring for people. So you need to have somewhere that your hands know to go when you're not presenting. Now, some people, you'll see they have their hands behind the back. And this just looks very formal. It can remind people of the military, maybe a lecturer, maybe even of Prince Charles of the English royal family. And when you start to gesture, the hands come forward and back and it seems very strange. Other people will put their hands in the pockets. Now this can look very casual, which can be good if you're speaking to colleagues or to friends, but in certain situations it can look as a bit casual, even as if you come across a little bit cocky. Some people put their hands on their hips, and this can come across as arrogant and even overconfident and can have a negative perception. So one thing you do want to do is avoid anything that might be considered defensive. We all know that folding your arms suggests to people that you're closed off from them, and certainly that's something you wouldn't want to do when you're presenting. But even if you just cross your arms across your body, which is what you often see people do, and occasionally they'll start to rub the side of their arm in a kind of self-pacifying gesture. So you need to avoid that. The worst probably is to have your hands down here, which is a very defensive posture. And then sometimes you see people starting to gesture like this, and it's something we call the fig leaf flasher. So now I'd like to explain something to you, and it can look very humorous as far as people are concerned. So if you're not going to do that with your hands, what are you going to do? The secret is to have a resting position that feels comfortable and looks great as far as the audience is concerned. Many presenters just put their arms down by the side and then just bring them up and gesture as and when they need to, and then let them come back here. That looks great, but not everybody feels comfortable. It can seem a little bit exposed. If you watch reporters on TV, typically they will have their hands somewhere just above the belt. They might just be resting one hand in another or touching. Either of those work really well. You can make a range of gestures. We can come together. You can make strong gestures towards the audience. And then the hands just come back to rest. So just think that as a baseline position. And it's very comfortable. You can just allow your arms to sit across your hips, and you can hold that for a period of time. So the important thing here is to allow your hands to gesture as they would in normal conversation. But you don't want them floating and hanging in space. It can look very unnatural. So you make your gesture, you make your point, and then you just bring your hands down to rest. And once you've got that, you no longer need to feel self-conscious at all about your hands when you're presenting.